Iran and 6 world powers have begun the process of drafting an agreement over Tehran's nuclear capacity. The talks are entering a 5th round in Vienna, with all sides saying they want to start putting together a general text by the end of the week. CCTV's Sandra Gathmann reports from Vienna.
Behind closed doors, nuclear talks are reaching a critical stage, with delegations from the U.S., Britain, France, Germany, China, and Russia meeting with Iranian officials and now putting pen to paper. Officials say drafting has begun of an agreement to ensure Iran's nuclear program remains peaceful.
You have little bits in brackets, which are the key issues. So you get what the main issues are down, but you don't actually, at this point, come to any conclusion, because this is a global negotiation where you have to have agreement on everything before you have agreement at all.
But outstanding issues are many and divisive. Tehran wants to maintain around 19,000 centrifuges to enrich uranium. The U.S. insists that number should be in the low thousands. Western nations also want long-term monitoring of Iran's nuclear activities after a deal is done. In exchange, Iran wants sanctions to be lifted quickly rather than phased out. After seeing so many delays to the drafting process, many suspect that tackling the bigger issues that will make or break this nuclear deal see talks extend beyond the July 20 deadline. But despite an apparent recent thaw in relations between Iran and the U.S., some American analysts remain skeptical any agreement will be reached here.
If there's no agreement there at that time, then as we were talking about yesterday, I don't think there'll be an agreement. Then you're in what I call the Arab-Israeli loop. Then you're in an Arab-Israeli process where there's process without real prospect of an agreement. Because by July 20th, Iranians know what they have to do. They just don't want to do it.
We're still offering you what is a reasonable approach, but the reasonable approach basically amounts to us being offering some transparency, but not rolling back the program. Well, if their position is going to remain that way, then there's not going to be a deal.
Iranian officials insist these nuclear talks are a test of confidence building with the West and of improving diplomatic relations. But with delays to a nuclear deal very possible, genuinely friendly ties may still be a long way off. Sandra Gathmann, CCTV, Vienna.
There's still no sign of 3 missing Israeli teenagers, and Israel's military and intelligence operations have yet to produce concrete details on their whereabouts. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas condemned the kidnapping. Stephanie Fried reports from Tel Aviv.
A tumultuous week in Israel and the West Bank after the disappearance of 3 high school boys believed kidnapped last Thursday as they waited by the roadside for a ride home. Israel's government responded by deploying thousands of soldiers and intelligence agents to the occupied West Bank to search for the boys. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu blamed Hamas.
Hamas terrorists carried out Thursday's kidnapping of 3 Israeli teenagers. We know that for a fact.
But Netanyahu hasn't disclosed any evidence to support his accusation against Hamas. Dawlat al-Islam, an offshoot of the Sunni militants trying to dismember Iraq, has claimed responsibility. Israeli authorities have arrested hundreds in connection with the alleged kidnapping and restricted Palestinian movement to and from West Bank towns. Hamas leaders denied responsibility, and Palestinian Authority leader Mahmoud Abbas remained relatively silent about the situation until now.
There are 3 young men who were kidnapped in one of the settlements. We do not monitor the security in that particular territory. We were not informed immediately after the incident took place, but 12 hours later, we were coordinating with the Israelis in order to find these young men, because they are human beings, and we would like to save their souls.
Hamas leaders in Gaza swiftly denounced Abbas's remarks as harmful to the fledgling Hamas-Fatah reunification recently announced after years of feuding.
Abbas's statements deal a psychological blow to the thousands of Palestinian prisoners suffering a slow death in the occupation jails.
Both Israeli and Palestinian analysts say the Netanyahu government is using the massive West Bank military sweep to undermine the fragile Hamas-Fatah unity government. Israeli military sources say that since searches for the missing teens started last Friday, troops have arrested 240 Palestinians, searched more than 800 locations, and raided 10 Hamas-run institutions. Hamas leaders are warning if Israeli authorities attempt to expel Hamas leaders from the West Bank, there will be consequences. Stephanie Fried, CCTV, Tel Aviv.